Hello and what's up everybody, this is the Rabid Hedgehog and this is going to be my long-term review of the 2021 Moto Guzzi V85TT. Now some of you may be going, what in the world? What do you mean long-term review? Well, I've actually had this thing almost 2 years. Just haven't had time to take it out on a video due to all the fun things with work and changes and everything that goes with that, pandemic, whatever else you want to say. But I did pick up this 21 Moto Guzzi V85TT in May of 2022 as a leftover at Motive Cycle Works. As you can see, still as beautiful as they ever were. To me, this is one of the best looking ADV motorcycles that you can get. And while we're coming to the back here, let's talk about our sponsors. AGVSportUSA giving us our jackets and keeping us safe. Law Tigers of Oklahoma protecting the riders in the courtroom from feisty geckos and people in aprons because they only make messes, right? And Doug Crawford and USA Synthetics supplying AMSOIL for our motorcycles and protecting the engines and everything. Being that this is a 2021, this is the first refresh of the V85TT. So looking at the 853cc air-cooled unit here, this received some internal updates. Of course, you can't see those on the outside, but this was the motorcycle that came out in 2019. Did some refreshing and some tinkering with it, hardening the insides a little bit and giving them a little bit more stoutness as well. Another thing on the 21s is we have the tubeless spoke wheels with the Michelin Anakis as stock. Of course, you can see the 100th anniversary logo there. Not the 100th anniversary color, but other than that, this is a 100th anniversary edition because it is a 21. Being that we are in the United States, this is the V85TT Adventure. You have the V85TT, you have the Travel, and you have the Adventure. Technically, the Travel slots above this one. The Travel has two panniers, one being asymmetrically bigger that can hold a helmet, and the other side being smaller, whereas the Adventure comes here in the US with all three bags. And this is where we're going to talk about our first quirk with this thing. So when these quirks come around, you never know why, but when you first get this out of the box, this key and those two don't match. But they come with the innards to swap them out so that way you can match all the keys to the luggage, at least for the luggage. You don't have the key for the ignition that fits it, which I'm kind of okay with. I know a lot of people like having one key, not as much of a mess to keep track of and all that fun stuff, but I'm going to be real. Sometimes it's better if you need to warm up your motorcycle to have key the ignition and it going, and that way you can complete your loadout and unlock these bags, move things around. You have your lock points here for quick release. Stick your key in there, turn, pops right off. You can carry them. Pretty easy to get to. Same with this guy here. You have your quick release there. You do have a seat release right here under the tail light as well. That way you can pop that off and get to your battery and your toolkit and all the fun stuff there. So overall, quite a bit of baggage. And like I said, it comes with it here in the US. Not every market that's available. Well, they work great. I can carry a lot of stuff in there. I use this thing for just about everything you can think of. And this one has a little over 8,100 miles on it now, so it has been used quite a bit. It would have more. It'd actually have probably over 10,000, but it spent 3 months in the shop or so, I think maybe a little more, because this broke in the middle of the pandemic. And a piece of it got hit by something. It bent the metal out, and it sliced open the dust seals and the fork seals and puked out all the fork oil, which that was a fantastic day. And this is where Piaggio needs to get their freaking act together in the United States. Had to wait a long time for that. I mean, I just needed about the $200 part, but instead we had to scavenge and find something that would work. And I mean, this is the $1,000 full fork leg, which is absolutely stupid to deal with. But that's about the only frustrating thing this thing has done to me. It wasn't even its fault. I don't even know what hit it, to be honest, because the plastic got torn up around it. It's just a fluke freak thing that hit it. Maybe there was something wrong with it that nobody knew about. No telling. Now this 2021 V85 is completely stock, sans two things. You'll notice that I do have the service stand installed, and I also added the heated grips. Those are the only two things I have added to this motorcycle. I have not done anything to enhance its performance. So it still has its catalytic converter. It still has all of its normal stuff. You can see the skid plates, that's what it comes with. You can see that they have had some battering and some other things. But I don't take this thing heavily off-road, just lighter things, things that can kick up some rocks and some stuff. But overall, that's what it's for. It's not really supposed to be for the deep jungle or anything like that. It's supposed to be for kind of something like this, where you have a single track, double track, something that's pretty packed up, pretty ready to go. The Anakis handle it real well. Suspension handles it real well. Does great in those conditions. You do have an off-road mode on here that defeats the rear ABS if you want to get tail happy. You can also defeat the full ABS system by going through the whole menu. So we'll go ahead and get ready to hop up on here. One thing to note, you do have a USB port under that cover there. Something I failed to mention in the previous, actually it was a mistake in the previous review, is when I was riding the V85, I looked over here and you notice we're not adjustable. We are adjustable. So the front fork is adjustable. I failed to notice that, and it got pointed out to me, because when I looked, I saw only that side. You adjust it from this side. You do have the full adjustability of the rear one as well. So you can tinker that suspension, get it where you want it, and it does really well. It's very soft suspension. Works really well on-road for sure. A little jarring off-road. Anywho, let's go over these controls here real quick. Up on the top of this here, you have kind of a light selector switch, so you can go DRL, main beam, and if you had the side lights on it, that would be where you control them and turn them on. Hazard button, mode button, not to be confused with the mode button. That's a menu button. Quirky Italian things. Engine cutoff switch, press in to on, out is off, and starter and mode selection. That's right, after you start it, then you press it for mode selection, because why would you need a mode button? Anywho, flash to pass, full brights, off, cruise control, press in, and then press again to turn it on, up and down, pretty simple to use. Turn signals, non-self-canceling, press center to cancel, horn, and accessory button. That button there is if you got the Bluetooth and all that. This is where you pair. This is also where you turn your heated grips on if you have those installed. I only have the heated grips, don't have the Bluetooth module installed on this one. Cool thing is when it pops up, you see all the lights it has. It has shift lights. It's a unit borrowed from an Aprilia. So you get a cool display. I really like the display. It's really nice, even in this bright sunlight right now. Everything is readable. You can even see where some of the auxiliary things are if you had the Bluetooth. Like you have navigation going, you have a message, comms, phone notifications, current time, current distance to empty, current mileage, 8123, current trip. The trip thing is a tattletale on you. You can see how long you've been riding on that tank of gas, how fast you've been going. It can go faster than that. Average speed currently, average fuel mileage, which that is actually really low. I'm telling you, I don't even pay attention to that. The 43.5 is way, 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 way low. Man, I've been getting, I think the worst I've gotten was 49. Average, though, is like 52 to 56 is what I normally actually see out of this. So it has extremely good gas mileage. Live fuel economy, current trip, you have A and B of that. And then when you're sitting still, this is where your menu will come up. And then you can click into that menu. Vehicle, there's where you can disable the full ABS. This is where also you can get rid of the Moto Guzzi traction control unit. This is also where you can set your shift lights. I have it set for 6,900 RPM to flash around and tell me where to go. And calibration of everything. This is where you have your backlight, your modes, what it's in, languages, all the good stuff on the display, dashboard. If you have the Moto Guzzi, Bluetooth and everything, this is where you change your clock. This is where you pair it. This is where your units are, your language, all that good stuff. Service. This is if you have the stuff, you have a user code, code recovery. That's about it. And you can exit from there. All right, down over here, you have what mode you're in. I currently am in off-road mode right now, which that's why you have your ABS disabled right there. You notice the shift light's right next to the red line at 6,900 RPMs. So that way it doesn't really get in the way. Sometimes when it's out of the factory, it's really low, so it gets in the way and just starts blinking at you, and you're like, I don't need that worry. So I have that off. You can see my heated grip accessory is there. Currently off. Fuel gauge is over here to the left. Also, a very notoriously tattletale, I don't actually need gas for an awful long time light. There are times this dumb thing goes off, turns on the fuel lights and everything at 170-ish miles. This thing has a 6-ish gallon gas tank. And it's getting that kind of mileage I mentioned before. This thing is capable, and I've done it, of over 300 miles. Plain and simple. That light comes on so freaking early, you have to be brave. And keep going, because you'll find out that it actually has better. Now, I'm not saying do that to yourself every time. Be prepared. I carried a gallon of gas with me just in case. I didn't even run out. Got over 300 miles, 313-ish, I think it was. It was just fine. In fact, out of the 6 gallons, it onboarded 5.2, I think it was at that time. So it wasn't even that bad. And you can see your side stand warning, neutral, ABS waiting to come on with the traction control system, waiting to come on, service engine light, blinkers, all that good stuff is up in there. Fuel lights, oil lights, just about everything you can need there. Turn it on, just press that in, and it comes to life. It's got that Guzzi dance going on. It's got that back and forth going on right now. Really a lot of character in this motorcycle. Really do enjoy this thing. I mean, I've put every single mile on this thing, quite literally, except for maybe 2-3, during services and stuff. Maybe a little more than that, I don't know, but it's been most of it. It literally came to my house with 0.4 of a mile on it, so it was really, really low. You do have adjustable levers on both sides, by the way. Really nicely thought out. One thing I really love about it is the shaft drive, man. You cannot lose with shaft drive. And this is really the only mid-sized ADV motorcycle on the market right now that has the shaft drive. Which to me is kind of sad. You got to go up to your 1200s in BMW. You have to go up to your 1200s in Triumph to get your shaft drives. But Moto Guzzi, literally you just have to get an 853. Is it the most powerful thing in the world? No. I'll put all the lovely details and specifications in the description of this motorcycle. I just want to talk about how this thing rides. the most lovely thing about it is just how calm of nature this motorcycle is. It has really nice gearing. The engine has very nice torque curve. It's not overly aggressive. It's not underpowered by any means. It feels like it's just right, just perfect. It actually feels more refined than BMW's F850s. To me, that motorcycle feels a little bit raspier with its parallel twin. Whereas this one has this nice ride to it. Sure, you get the shakes and stuff when you're sitting still, but you know, it perfectly just sits there and is happy to smooth out once you get revving up, which it revs very happily, very quickly. The engine itself is designed agriculturally. It's a tractor. It's not designed to set the world on fire. It's designed to get you where you want to go over almost any terrain. Granted, like I said, you probably don't want to take it on the heavier stuff. You only have around 6.5 inches of suspension travel. So you don't have the best of shock travel, but it's good enough. I promise you, it's good enough. There's videos of this thing, you know, following an Africa Twin around and not having too much problems with going at it. It's just the rider. I am not that rider. I will be the first to admit that. But what I like about it is what all it can do. Because it's not so huge. Like the R1250 GSA, like the 1200 Tigers, like those, it is just the right size. The weight is spot on where it needs to be. The engine's spot on where it needs to be. The balance on this thing is just superb. It's a very good road-going motorcycle over long range, and because of its more smaller size, it's perfect for the around town runabout too. It can get in and out of the city just fine. Most of the time, I actually run with this thing with just the top trunk on it and not the panniers, so that way I could just run around in town. And I have a thin profile because it's a very thin motorcycle. It's what makes it so easy to approach. A lot of these other ADV bikes are so freaking tall. This one's running around a 33-ish inch seat height. I think it's slightly less actually. And it's narrow. It has this nice area for your legs to fall into, that's for dang sure. And you can grip onto this thing and you can drop down to the ground. It's great for beginners, so approachable, and so overlooked. A lot of people don't know what this motorcycle is, which is very sad. All they hear about is BMW, the 850 GSAs and R1250s and Triumph Tiger 800s and 900s and all the others that have come around. KTM is a big name, you know. Whereas Moto Guzzi just kind of flies under the radar. I mean, yes, I get it. They are still a company that prides themselves on being hand-built, 100 years in the same spot, and they make a limited production per year. They don't go over the top with it. They just get to a point and they call it a day or a year, however you want to say it. But I'm telling you, whoever designed this thing, just like every other Moto Guzzi that I've ever been on, chassis is just so on point and the balance is so on point. I can do better than this, guys. I'm rusty right now. There we go, getting closer. Oop. If you're doing this MSF style, there we are, we're in the line. This is actually shorter than the MSF because this one can do the 24 foot. These are probably about 16 feet. They're 8 foot across or so, maybe 9, so it's 16 to 18 feet. So a little less, but I could definitely do the 20 foot box. That's what I'm kind of used to. But the way the motorcycle communicates and the balance it does, is just fantastic for a rider. And like I said, I'm a little rusty, feeling a little under the weather. I can do that in my sleep most of the time, but of course when you're on video and you're talking, you're not concentrating to the fullest extent of what you can do, which, as we talk about in riding school, can affect your riding. So I'm taking this out over here to this lovely broken up Sooner Road here. That way we can talk about the suspension. Like I said, it is not the softest suspension, but it's not the hardest. It's kind of this perfect in-between suspension that can eat up everything and just stay nice and calm. I mean, we're going over some broken roads, and this thing is staying planted, as you can see. Of course, when people are going by you, you want to put your hands down because they may start looking at you and drive into you, but ask me how I know. But see, going over that awful, look at this. Boom, just nicely tracking over everything. No problem, not being really shaken off course or nothing. That was more me leaning, actually, because I saw the bigger stuff coming. But yeah, it tracks perfectly. It goes over those bumps. You don't hear any crackling in my voice, like, you know. I don't hear any of that because that suspension is just so supple and so nice. The seating position is absolutely perfect for my height. 6 foot tall, around 209 pounds, 32-inch inseam, long trunk, short arms, but everything fits so right. My leg comes back right between my knee and hips. Hips come straight up, shoulder down, arm straight out, slightly bent forward. Look at this big bump. Boom. Nothing. But it's just such a perfect seating position. And then you have these really nice wide bars. Some people hate these things, but my goodness, does it give you so much leverage into your ride, and it gives you so much communication to the road and for the motorcycle. It's a perfect fit, especially the way my hands fall to it. The grips are a little thin for a big old hand like mine, but no big deal. It's just a grip. The heated grips helped, actually. They're a little bit wider. Downshift, engine braking, spot on. You do have twin Brembo on the front, pulling this thing to a stop, equipped with ABS, of course. So you have all the modern amenities. The sound, pretty silent motorcycle. So it's not going to wake your neighbors up. It's not going to bother anybody because, like I said, I kept it stock. It's no cat delete, no nothing. With that being said, I can say this is something I experienced the last time too. There's a little heat. I've got the wind coming from over here to my left. I think it is. Feels like it is, at least. But anyway, wherever the wind is coming from, the heat is actually coming out of the engine and hitting me on the right side, right in the ankle area. And that's what I've heard is pretty common. Here we go. We're going to get those lights going here for you. You can see how this thing just wants to go. I mean, I'm only in 4th gear and I was already well over the speed limit. Or starting to get well over the speed limit. At maximum, chat, you're looking at about 124 miles an hour. Is it the fastest in the world? No, but I mean, it gets there in a exciting and actually pretty dang smooth way. So it makes it pretty fun to ride around, especially on interstates and around town. On back roads, man, this thing is just perfect for any circumstance you could throw it at, except for extreme heavy off-roading. The seat is absolutely the most comfortable stock motorcycle seat I've ever been on. It just feels so great. I've been on this motorcycle for 7 hours straight. You know, just stopping for fuel and literally sitting on the motorcycle, putting the fuel in, thinking it can going. So not really getting up, just stretching my legs and bouncing back to back while I'm sitting there getting the fuel. And it doesn't bother me to do that. It doesn't wear me out in terms of how the seat and the position and everything feels. I will say that there is a design flaw for a motorcycle company that uses a dadgum wind tunnel. That sucks. I don't get why this was designed the way it was. Is there any buffeting or anything? Yes, plenty of it. Right at the bottom of the helmet because of these cutouts. What the heck? I mean, that's dumb. And then you have that one right in the middle to go straight into the forehead, basically. So you get this amazing wind tunnel noise. So it's a loud motorcycle to ride with the stock windscreen on it. I have not tried any of the other windscreens for it at this time. Just the stock one. So this is the only one I really know. Does it give adequate wind protection in most circumstances? I would say yes. The wind protection in terms of the body and everything is fine, but it does push it toward the head, and it does cause a little bit of buffeting and stuff inside the helmet, and a little bit louder noise than most, especially with a windscreen on it. It is not adjustable. It does have, I guess, a little adjustment on tilt. As you can see right there, you can actually loosen that up and push it back a little bit. But that is even more noise. I mean, in the laid back position, oh my gosh, heck no. That's about the best way I can do it for my height. Like I said, the way I sit on it, it does get me in the buffeting zone. I got to come down to about right here, and now I don't feel anything. And as you can see, I'm pretty much laying on the tank at that point. So that is a kind of a no bueno kind of thing, but if I haven't changed it in 8,100 miles, it's because it doesn't bother me enough to care. This motorcycle and I have gone through quite a bit together. Like I said, I did take some damage one time. I don't know how. I don't know if it was one of the off-road stints. I've never dropped her or anything. But I've been through some of that nasty mud, junk, everything. And I've been through an actual tornado with it. And yeah, that's a weird story, but anyway, I was trying to get home from work as fast as possible, but my coworker, or actually subordinate, because I was the manager, did not listen to please have everything ready to be done by this time, or else I'm going to be pretty mad at you, because I knew the storms were coming. But if I would have got out at that time, I would have 100% beat them. But unfortunately, as things goes, Murphy rides on your shoulder, just like in my audio stuff. He's always there. And Murphy murphed. Lost a check, you know, on the countdown. What in the actual, you know? Took 15 additional minutes to find the stupid thing. And then finally we were out. That's great, you know, great. Just thanks a lot. I told you to go, this was over an hour of warning. Please get things done. Could have been looking for it at that time. Nope. But anywho, so I leave. I have a couple of storms that I'm looking at. To my right, you know, being a storm spotter, seeing the colors, seeing the striations, seeing the way that storm looked. To my right, I could tell hail, big hail. And it was reported that day up to baseball sized. That's not a good mix on a motorcycle. I don't care if you're wearing a helmet and all the gear in the world. That is gonna hurt. That's gonna hurt quite a bit. Ahead of me, pretty much there was kind of an in-between storm, and it didn't look that bad. So I thought I would try to shoot the gap. No big deal. Well, that thing filled in real fast. No hail, but then the winds. Oh boy, did the winds catch up. We went from 20-mile-an-hour winds to 40 to 50 to 60 to 70. And then finally, straight into the EF0 tornado itself, which is around 80 or so miles an hour. And you're like, how do you know it was a tornado? Well, trust me, when you see the debris come up over the road and spin up and get tossed over, and you go right into the middle of it all, it's a dadgum tornado. And it was confirmed and reported that day. And she didn't fall. she went right through it, man. Just like a trooper. Dumbest amount of wind, man. I did not want to get anything below like 40 miles an hour, because anything below that, man, I couldn't keep her pushed over enough in that wind and everything, because, man, it was just a hard time to balance. But she made it, and we bonded that day. There was times I wondered why I bought this motorcycle. There truly were, and I don't know why. I bought it. I really liked them, and then after having one, I'm like, man, this thing is not exactly what I was hoping it would be. I want a little more. You know, there's those thoughts, you know, kind of that buyer's remorse period. But then that happened, and ever since then, I cannot complain about her. Why was I thinking she wasn't quite good enough? Well, she wasn't as good in the dirt and some of the other things as my cousin's BMW or the KLR 650 or several others that are more adapt to that kind of riding. And I wanted to be a little bit more because they were about to tackle some BDRs and some other stuff like that, and I wanted to join them. Well, after they completed their first BDR, the BDR idea stopped, at least for a couple of them. I mean, granted, we are all getting older, so I get it. So that left it to where this motorcycle would be mostly for getting to the campgrounds and highway use and long-term trips. And that is what this thing excels at in all the right ways. This is a motorcycle that is very hard for me to put away after the end of a day. I want to keep on riding. I want to keep on going because it's so inviting and so easy and comfortable to ride. Maybe it's because it is the underdog. Maybe it's because not everybody has understood what Moto Guzzi is and the brand and what they bring to the table, but this thing does well. I use it as a sport utility vehicle. Everybody's using these daggum cages like that. This is my sport utility vehicle. This is my grocery hauler. This is my everything. I mean, I can load this thing up with wood and tools and seats and parts for my Royal Enfield and so many other things, windshields and everything. This thing has carried so much stuff back and forth places. Everything is so nice back there. Tie downs are easy to get to. Just really well laid out motorcycle for what we're doing here, for these kind of rides, for using it in town. As you can see, he was staring at me there because it gets a lot of looks too. Because not a lot of people realize that Moto Guzzi is still Moto Guzziing, and they want to know what it is. We have ran into several people riding this one around, and this one did replace my V7, by the way. And it's funny because the V7 never got noticed. Where this one, see a gentleman on Route 66, he's on a Le Mans. And he's taking off toward Tulsa going back home, but he noticed me and he turned around and came back and said, we just had to meet because you don't see a goose every day. And then even at the Indian shop I work at Indian of OKC, Marco has a Moto Guzzi, and we have a customer that comes in with a V85 Travel every once in a while. And we call it the, just jokingly, the regional Moto Guzzi ownership club, all three of us, because there's not very many of us at all. but it's the stories around these motorcycles. It's the camaraderie. It's just the things that the Moto Guzzi brings to the table that you wouldn't expect, that BMWs just don't. BMW riders are a select group, and they do certain things, and they say certain things. Same with Harley, same with Indian, same with, you know, there's people that just kind of go all over the place with things. But when you meet another Guzzi rider, the excitement is hilarious, man. It's just so exciting to run in to another Guzzi rider and to have stories and everything, and to make the jokes, you know. It's, once it makes it to 10,000, it'll last forever. And we're getting there with this one. And I truly mean this. Unlike all the other bikes I've said this with, this one I truly cannot see not having one of these in my garage. Even if the Stelvio comes out, and it is wowing everybody right now, but with that Stelvio on the horizon, I would still like to have this next to it because of the way it is. It connects you to a past. It connects you to the machine in such a way that just cannot be replaced. And it can't be explained. It's very hard to. It just simply has a fantastic, wonderful soul. And not a lot of motorcycles can say that as technology increases and we get increasingly taken away from control with all of these gadgets and modules and everything. Oh, look at that. Nice little Triumph there. But yeah, we get taken away increasingly from the ride, and this motorcycle begs you to ride it. And it will forgive you for riding it wrong. That's how the traction control on this one works, is it doesn't get in the way, at least on the settings I have it. I've never actually once put it into anything harder, but it pretty much will stays out of the way until I've absolutely screwed up. And that takes quite a bit. But it forgives you, it rides well, it looks good, and man, it's just a motorcycle that you want to take everywhere that you can. Like I said, I'm getting close to the 8,200 mark just in this ride. Now let's talk about one more difference between this one and the years prior. This one does have the modes. You have Sport, you have Road, you have Rain, and you have Custom. This is something you did not have before. And then Off-Road. So you can set up your Custom inside the menu screen and everything. The way you change the modes, like I said earlier, is that you press down on the starter button after it is going, and then you pull in the clutch, and then the system will reset and the timing will change. It's not a power output thing, it's a throttle position and where it picks up. It is discernible difference too. I keep this thing in sport mode because it just feels right. I think road mode is a little too slow. Rain mode is definitely too slow. And even though I have been in some incredible rains with this thing, never even left sport mode then. And off-road mode, yeah, I'll go into off-road mode because I like to slide. I like to just hit that and get that rear ABS out the way, and that way I can slide her and have some fun with her. So to me, all those modes, yeah, I might be able to set a custom one, but I've never bothered to. Because I just like where it's at. Again, it just begs you to ride where it's at. But it allows you to make it your own if you want to. So, there's that to think about. But at any rate, I just wanted to give everybody a little ride around and give you guys a perspective of a owner of a Moto Guzzi V85TT. Not very many long-range reviews on this motorcycle,
because there's just not that many of them out there, I feel. There's either those guys that take them out and just thrash them for journalistic purposes and some other stuff, or there's those guys that, you know, that took it out with the Africa Twin and did some stuff with it, really enjoyed it as well. But I just don't see those long range reviews of somebody who's had it for almost 2 years. Like I said, it will be 2 years coming up in May. Has actually put some miles on it, has actually done some trips with it, has actually had some funny things with the supply chain with it. Like I said, it took 3 to 4 months for that fork leg to come in, and it became an argument with Piaggio and the dealer. And it's not Moto's fault, it's not Don's fault, it's not anybody else's fault. It was literally fighting tooth and nail just to get the right part for this dumb thing. I mean, it's suspension, guys. I mean, let's be real here. And being that I worked for Indian Motorcycle and worked for Harley and Indian both have programs for bike down assistance. i.e., if there's a motorcycle down, somebody who's out of town, out of state or whatnot, we call the mothership, and the mothership will take that part off of the assembly line and send it to us in a hurry. And that way we can get that rider back on the road. That is the right thing to do. Piaggio, whatever the heck you're doing is not the right thing. Your dealer network is not the right thing. The way you treat your dealer network is not the right thing in the US. You've got to do better. You've got to get a supply house here. You've got to figure something out. So that way more people can come to these motorcycles, because they're fantastic. They ride great. They're wonderful motorcycles. Everything about them is great. Fit finish is awesome. But then when there is a problem, it becomes a compounded problem. And that's why people don't want to risk the goose. At least when I actually talk to people who know, that's what they say. They just simply don't want to go there. Because let's face it, Triumph, they have stuff in Atlanta. Royal Enfield has stuff in Harley Davidson's backyard, literally in Milwaukee. You know, you've got BMW with stuff in the US. There's just places and layers built in for each of those brands. It's not like Moto Guzzi hasn't been in the US as long as them. So it just doesn't make sense for that to be a problem in this day and age, when you can simply have a warehouse and simply be supplying everything for your riders that are here. Sure, we're not that big of a market, but you can store the parts pretty easily along with the motorcycles that are coming in, I would assume. But anyway, sorry about that rant. That's really the only thing that burned me on this thing. Parts availability can take some time, but as long as you don't have to worry about it, it is a fantastic rider. It is a fantastic motorcycle, highly approachable for all riders, new and skilled, and just an easygoing, nice platform. I mean, you can even stand up on it like you could your normal ADVs and everything. Be comfortable going over some hard, gnarly things, even though it won't particularly like it, but you could do it. And then it will get you home. At any rate, this is the Rabbit Hedgehog, and if you have any more questions regarding the Moto Guzzi V85TT, specifically this is a 2021 model year, so I think it's 2025, there's going to be another kind of cycling refresh. So between 21 and 24, I believe, is going to be the same, with a slight difference coming out. Just let me know in the comments below and all that. I'll also post in the description, once again, all the specifications of this motorcycle, all the details, all the things that you need. And that way you can do the research and be well informed about what you're getting onto. Because I highly recommend always researching everything before taking that step in buying a motorcycle. At any rate, keep that shiny side up, folks, and we'll catch you on the next ride.